everybody. We're label reading. So oftentimes when we buy a boxed or packaged food, we are not quite sure if it's a healthy choice or not. So here are a few tips to get you started. If we look at the outside of the package, it is normally that what kind of sucks us, kind of what brings us in. We may see things like, oh, natural, organic ingredients, or cage-free, or grass-fed, or vegetarian. But we really, unless you're looking for really something specific and you know that it is valid, like maybe the gluten-free symbol or that USDA organic symbol, we really can kind of skip all that. It's mostly marketing, and we want to go straight to the ingredients list because that is where we find out the most about a product. And when we're looking at the ingredients list, we want to look for good words. We want to see things like whole, organic. And when we say whole, like whole grain, whole wheat, whole grain oats, and that means that it's 100%, it's still intact. The grain is still intact. If we see products like a lot of breads, a lot of pastas, a lot of things made with flour, we can see that it might say wheat flour, it might say enriched wheat flour, it might say durum flour. Those, unless it says whole wheat, it is a highly processed flour, which is just a white flour versus a whole wheat flour, which has been stripped of the goodness and then kind of stuff has been enriched back in. So a whole grain is better. We want to see 10 items or less. We want to see words that we can recognize and we know what they are. The first ingredient is the most abundant. So, if it has whole grain oats as the first ingredient, that's a good start. We want to avoid things that say high fructose, anything artificial, anything hydrogenated, anything trans. We want to see, again, like see words that we know. If we don't recognize them, right, then question those things. Look up what they are. So when I think I mentioned 10 ingredients or less. If I didn't, look for 10 ingredients or less. Oftentimes you'll see a product that has, I don't know how many, 25 ingredients, and it just seems like a simple product. Like for example, I was looking for pickles. So pickles, right, for me, I'm just thinking cucumbers, I'm thinking vinegar, and I'm thinking some salt, maybe some other spices. But it was really eye-opening, even for me at this stage. I was still amazed at some of the unnecessary ingredients in pickles. So first, high fructose corn syrup is in a lot of pickles. Secondly, a color, that yellow, I can't remember what the number is, but yellow number, whatever it is. I'm not sure why we need to put coloring in a pickle, but you can do so. I think this one, they put some beta carotene in, so that's a little more natural. They also put sodium benzoate. So that's another thing to avoid, which I talk about in a different video, are 12 dirty dozen non-food items. So these are ingredients that are added to foods that are artificial, preservatives, flavors, colors, that have been linked to certain health conditions that really would be best if avoided because they're not necessary in our foods. So once we determine if the ingredients, if we're okay with the ingredients, we said, okay, this looks good. So like Simple Mills, these are great brands. They're processed, right? Crackers, they have mixes, they have cookies, but the ingredients are very clean and normally always under 10 ingredients. So a nut and seed blend, almonds, sunflowers, and flax, tapioca starch, cassava, which is a root vegetable flour, organic sunflower oil, sea salt, rosemary, and organic onion, garlic, and pepper. Really easy, simple. It's in a bigger font. So too, normally the font is really tiny and something that you have to kind of really look at. And then also you want to kind of take note, the allergens, they're, the top ones, they have to list if it's been in contact with machinery or it does contain those top allergens like gluten, dairy, soy, nuts. So if we think it's a good ingredient, then we can move up to the nutrition facts. First thing we look at there is the serving size. Sometimes things like cereal are only a cup. Salsa, 2 tablespoons. Maybe a sauce is only a tablespoon. Sometimes the things are only a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon. So take note of that, because that's really important when we're looking at things like sodium, the fat, and the sugar. So if we look at sodium, we want to be under daily recommended sodium intake should be under 2,300 milligrams. So, but if you have high blood pressure, you may want to be more around 1,500 milligrams. Sugar, we're looking for added sugar here. How much added sugar does it contain? Some things contain sugar, yes, but it's from naturally, like it may have some fruit in it, or like something, natural sugars that occur in dairy. So how much added sugar does something have? Our daily recommended intake for sugars, the added sugar, for women, it's around 24, 25 grams. Men, it's a little higher. Children, lower. So remember that when you're looking at something like, say, for example, a soda, sodas have well over 30 grams. So you're already, if you have one soda, that's already above the daily recommended allowance. So there's that. Things that we want to see more of: fiber and protein. So the more protein and fiber something has, the better. It makes it a more satiating food, better for the body. So there are a few tips to kind of get you started. I mean, it's really quite simple, but so much junk out there. And remembering that, real food is best for the body.